Superfood Evolution presents Irish moss seaweed, a nutritious thickening agent. Irish moss is not actually a moss, but a type of seaweed that has been used for centuries in Ireland, hence the name, as a healing sea vegetable used in soup broths to fortify and strengthen malnourished individuals. During the Irish famine in the mid-1800s, seaweeds became a main supplement of nutrition for the Irish people, playing a significant role as an abundant, easily harvested, and prepared source of sustenance throughout this historical food shortage. Irish sea moss is a red seaweed variety that is often sourced from the Chondrus crispus species, but is also derived from the genus Gracilaria, a less leafy variation. Chondrus crispus commonly grows off the shores of Ireland, Great Britain, the Atlantic coastlines of the US and Canada, most European shores, as well as Iceland. Whereas gracilaria, another type of red marine algae also referred to as Irish moss, comes from warmer oceanic environments. Chondrus crispus, or gracilaria, being very mucilaginous when soaked in water, is one that you wouldn't normally eat like dulse, kelp, or nori seaweeds. It additionally has a tough and rubbery texture that is largely inedible. Although it is traditionally simmered and consumed as a liquid broth, modern-day recipes often use the raw blended gel, which can be added to various foods and drinks as a nutritious thickening agent. It is often used as a vegan substitute for gelatin as it provides a similar consistency. Irish moss is a natural source of Carrageenan, which makes up about 55% of its volume and is what is responsible for its properties as a gelling medium. What is Carrageenan, and is it good for us? Carrageenan extract or gum is not the same thing as whole Irish moss seaweed. Carrageenan extract is an emulsifier and food additive that has been used in the commercial food industry for decades in yogurt, ice cream, dairy milk, and even organic boxed vegan milks to enhance the textures of these packaged products. It is also used as a stabilizer in other processed foods, as well as a common ingredient in pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, pesticides, and toothpastes. The use of Carrageenan extract has been the subject of much debate among health-conscious consumers for its studied links to a variety of gastrointestinal disorders, including inflammatory bowel syndrome, intestinal ulcerations, and tumor growths. There has been quite a lobby of people, including the Cornucopia Institute, protesting the FDA's approval of Carrageenan as a safe food additive for these reasons. Irish moss Carrageenan versus Carrageenan extract. Carrageenan, a type of polysaccharide, can be derived from Irish moss, Chondrus crispus, in addition to other varieties of red edible seaweeds like Kappa ficus alvarezi, one of the most important commercial sources, according to Wikipedia. Chemically processed Carrageenan extract, also called food-grade Carrageenan, is nutritionally diminished and is not the same substance as whole Irish moss seaweed. Manufactured Carrageenan is an isolated compound extracted from red seaweeds and treated with harsh alkali solutions like potassium hydroxide. During processing, the all-important cellulose is removed from the seaweed, and the use of 5 to 8% potassium hydroxide is employed. Potassium hydroxide solutions with concentrations of approximately 0.5 to 2% are irritating when coming in contact with the skin, while concentrations higher than 2% are corrosive. In an article provided by the U.S. National Library of Medicine, it essentially refers to potassium hydroxide as a toxic, poisonous chemical that can have serious health effects if ingested. The amounts of potassium hydroxide present in Carrageenan extract remains to be proven, but is a factor to take into consideration regarding its given side effects. Moreover, another important concern is that food-grade Carrageenan can be degraded by acids in the stomach, turning it into polygeenan, a potential carcinogenic substance. According to the Cornucopia Institute and their Carrageenan report, degraded Carrageenan polygeenan is such a potent inflammatory agent that scientists routinely use it to induce inflammation and other disease in laboratory animals to test anti-inflammation drugs and other pharmaceuticals. This is the information we have gathered on the subject from respected sources, but it is important to do your own research if you are at all concerned about the Carrageenan content present in Irish moss sourced from either the whole Gracilaria seaweed or the Chondrus crispus dried pieces, and powder. There are other such questionable additives that are FDA approved and prolifically used in packaged foods. The only way to avoid them is to eliminate regular consumption of highly processed goods altogether, adhering to a diet based primarily on whole foods and packaged products using whole food ingredients. Irish moss, consumed in its complete form as a broth or gel, actually aids and soothes gastrointestinal issues and inflammation in the body, contrary to isolated Carrageenan extracts that can do quite the opposite. Historically speaking, many cultures around the world have, in fact, used the seaweed for its beneficial properties specific to the digestive tract. Likewise, it has been used for generations in Ireland as a nourishing tonic and energizing food source. Other historical uses. The seaweed was a commonly used Irish remedy for bronchitis and coughs as a simmered soup or hot milk drink combined with expectorants like ginger. In Venezuela, it is boiled with milk, and honey is added as a home remedy for sore throats and chest congestion. In Jamaica, it has a reputation for being an aphrodisiac and cure for male impotence. Jamaicans serve it as a thick, sweet, milky drink spiced with vanilla and cinnamon. Likewise, in Scotland, it is made into a kind of sweet jelly similar to tapioca. Health benefits of Irish moss. A nourishing and energizing food source. Irish moss contains many beneficial vitamins and trace minerals such as sulfur, iodine, iron, calcium, selenium, magnesium, potassium, and folate. Irish moss flakes from the Chondrus crispus species have small, red-leafed blades that contain higher amounts of iodine than the whole moss strands, but generally the seaweed is not considerably high in iodine compared to that of kelp, bladderwrack, and other sea vegetables. As mentioned, the seaweed broth has been used for centuries as a building food, nourishing those recovering from debilitating illness, fatigue, physical injury, or traumas. This practice was largely employed during the 19th century Irish famine, 1845 and 1852, to strengthen the body and speed recovery from malnourishment and weakened physical states. The seaweed is also a time-released energizing fuel source, providing long-chain polysaccharides that help to deliver nutrients over a longer period of time for a slower and more sustained nutritional uptake. Useful as a respiratory tonic. The seaweed is a commonly known and used remedy for issues involving the respiratory tract. As both an expectorant and demulcent, it can be very helpful for coughs, sore throats, relieving congestion, and expelling excess mucus from the lungs. Irish moss has been used extensively as an anti-inflammatory and lung tonic for bronchitis and pneumonia in many coastal cultures around the world. According to seaweed expert Ryan Drum, red algae containing Carrageenan has been used for millennia as treatments for respiratory ailments, especially intractable sinus infections and lingering pneumonias. Great for the skin. Irish moss is widely utilized in natural cosmetics, creams, and beauty products for its nourishing effects to the skin. One of the reasons for this is due to its higher sulfur content in addition to its lubricating long-chain polysaccharides like Carrageenan. Homemade gels can be applied directly on the skin for tissue healing and for use as a facial mask. Benefits to skin health can additionally be achieved by internally consuming the seaweed, which helps to rehydrate and moisturize the skin layer from the inside out. Blended gels in drinks or soups can be of great value for issues like eczema, sunburns, rashes, or psoriasis. Strengthens connective tissues and joints. The seaweed can be used to accelerate the recovery from injuries to the joints and is particularly well known for strengthening connective tissues and cartilage. It helps to reduce swelling and acts as a natural anti-inflammatory for sports injuries or ailments affecting the knees, ankles, and other joints of the body. This nutrient-rich seaweed also contains taurine and other sulfur-based amino acids in greater number than any other type of seaweed. Sulfur helps to shield the joints against infectious organisms that may lead to joint problems like arthritis further down the road. It can be used as a dietary adjunct along with MSM, morinda root, and eucommia bark. for enhancing joint health and skeletal structure. Soothing to digestive tract. Rich soup broths made from Irish moss seaweed have been used for centuries to relieve gastritis and ulcerative conditions of the digestive tract. Acting as a mild laxative, its demulcent qualities are lubricating and soothing to the mucous membranes and lining of the stomach and intestines. Good for weight loss. Similar to chia seeds, Irish moss can be used as a nutritious and low-calorie thickening agent and filling food source, helpful as a substitute for nuts, fats, and carbohydrates in drinks and desserts. Its time-release nature additionally provides a feeling of fullness that satisfies hunger and acts as a natural appetite suppressant. It is a mild laxative and contains small amounts of iodine, which can help to boost metabolism and increase energy, beneficial for those wanting to lose excess body weight. Types of Irish moss seaweed. Whole dried seaweed. This Irish moss comes from the genus Gracilaria and does not have leafy red blades like the Chondrus crispus variety. It is a lighter beige-brown mass with a soft, flexible, rubbery texture. It is usually always naturally dried as a raw seaweed and not heat-treated. There are currently only a handful of companies selling Irish moss in this form. Our top two choices are Traditional Nutrition, Divine Organics, and Natural Zing. It is one of the most popular types used to make the seaweed gel, as it has a neutral flavor and mild scent. 1 cup of gracilaria soaked in water will increase up to 3 to 4 times its original size, and generally turns a more translucent color when saturated. The gel is commonly prepared by those adhering to a raw food diet for its nutritive and energizing components. It is additionally highly utilized by raw gourmet chefs as it provides a thick texture to assorted raw desserts like cheesecakes, lemon bars, and vegan cheeses. Dried flake pieces. This is a dried mix of red leafy blade flakes or darker to lighter brown seaweed pieces sourced from the Chondrus crispus species. When soaked and blended, it provides a darker gel with a somewhat stronger flavor that is slightly less desirable for use in recipes. One of the benefits to using the dried seaweed pieces is that you can usually find a contamination-tested or organically sourced version. Flake pieces are also somewhat higher in nutritive properties compared to gracilaria. It is important to select raw variations that are not high-temperature dried for optimal nutritional uptake. Our two favorite suppliers are Mountain Rose Herbs and Maine Coast Sea Vegetables. Powdered seaweed. The powder is created from grinding the dried Chondrus crispus pieces. This provides a fine gray-colored powder that can be easily added to thickened foods, much like the gel. It does tend to absorb more moisture, however, so keep this in mind when using it in recipes. Concentrated powders have a very strong, fishy flavor that are not as easy to camouflage with other ingredients. It is thus not always appropriate for use in sweet desserts or beverages. As with the dried whole moss and flake pieces, it is important to select high-quality brands for the highest health benefits. Fresh Irish moss. This variety is most often red-purple to light brown in color when sun-bleached. Fresh Chondrus crispus is wild harvested in locations conducive to its growth, primarily the cold Atlantic coastlines of Canada, Europe, Iceland, and the US. How to use. You can make a jar of Irish moss gel and keep it in the fridge to use as a base for protein shakes and smoothies. As we mentioned, the polysaccharide sugars and nutrients are time-released for slower nutritional uptake and provide the perfect fuel source for exercise regimes, sports activities, or workout sessions. Stated previously, the gracilaria variety is a very popular ingredient these days in raw dessert recipes to create a thick consistency for raw cheesecakes, raw ice cream, sauces, dressings, jams, and puddings. The blended gel can be added to miso soups along with other seaweeds like kelp, nori, or dulse. Likewise, the whole or dried pieces can be simmered and strained to create a thick soup stock. You can also make a seaweed facial mask using the gel recipe below straight from the blender. How to make Irish moss gel. Making Irish moss gel is quite simple. but does employ the use of a high-speed blending device. One of the best parts about making it this way is that it can be stored for long periods of time in the refrigerator, literally weeks when kept cold. It is virtually tasteless with a subtle seaweed scent that is not noticeable when camouflaged into drinks and desserts. It basically tends to take on the flavors of the foods and spices used with it. To make the gel, you essentially soak, strain, and blend the whole Irish moss or pieces with pure water into a smooth, creamy consistency. This will create a pourable thick liquid that can be stored in a glass jar and will solidify when chilled in the refrigerator. For our complete Irish moss gel recipe using gracilaria, please see the link in the description box below this video. Precautions. Seek the advice of a healthcare practitioner if pregnant, breastfeeding, or taking prescription medications, especially blood-thinning drugs. Excessive amounts of Irish moss may cause loose stools as it is a mild laxative. It is best to avoid intake if diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. Thanks for watching, and for more on other seaweed varieties, visit our website at superfoodsforsuperhealth.com. For trusted sources of the best Irish moss we can find, be sure and check the links in the description box below this video. Please support us with a thumbs up if you found this video useful. And be sure and check out these other related videos.